There is a kind of strength the world does not applaud. It does not shout. It does not demand recognition. It does not shine in the way crowds expect strength to shine. This strength lives in silence, in the dark inner chambers where a person finally faces themselves. Centuries ago, in the cold mountains of the East, a young warrior named Kenshiro sought a master whose power was rumored not to come from sword or strategy, but from stillness. They said he could remain unmoved by anything. Not sorrow, not humiliation, not desire, not even the shadow of death. Kenshiro had already seen war. He had already tasted the bitterness of betrayal. He had already learned how easily the world shatters. When his father fell ill and his clan tore itself apart in silent rivalry, Kenshiro realized something terrifying. The greatest battles are not fought between soldiers. They are fought inside the heart. So he climbed the mountain in winter. Frost bit his breath. His past clung to him like ghosts. He expected lessons of combat. He expected wisdom spoken in deep, ancient words. But Master Sogen offered none. No techniques, no praise, no instructions, only silence, only stillness. Only the slow unraveling of everything Kenshiro believed himself to be. What felt like death would become his rebirth. If the silence within you stirs, remain here. Walk this path with us. The mountain air was thinner than Kenshiro expected. Each breath felt like a confession, sharp, cold, undeniable. Snow clung to the ridges like white scars, and the path twisted upward as if testing his resolve. By the time he reached the wooden gate of the monastery, his pride was the only warmth he carried. Monks worked quietly in the courtyard. No one looked up, no one bowed. No one whispered his name, though he knew they must have heard of him. The prodigy warrior, the one who had defeated men twice his age. And then he saw him. Master Sogen, sitting beneath a bare winter tree, eyes closed, unmoving, as though carved from time itself. Kenshiro bowed deeply. Sogen did not acknowledge him. Not a word, not a glance, not even breath seemed to change in him. Kenshiro's jaw tightened. Was this how warriors were welcomed? They put a broom in his hands, not a sword. Chop wood, carry water, a novice murmured, pointing to buckets scarred by winter. Kenshiro worked until his shoulders burned, until pride tasted like iron on his tongue. In the hall, he noticed a locked drawer beneath the altar and a burned ledger in the brazier, pages black and curling, as if the monastery fed on old victories. A red thread hung from the drawer's keyhole, cut short. When Sogen finally moved, it was only to strike a single bell. One note, no words. The echo climbed the beams like smoke. It stirred the nervous system's need for recognition and crushed it in the same breath. His amygdala flared, then faltered under the calm cadence of inhale-exhale, a metronome for mastery. Kenshiro bowed again. Silence answered, and in the silence, a question he could not yet name. At dawn, the mountain would demand the first sacrifice he feared to give. Morning came without ceremony. Only the bell. Cold light spilled across the courtyard as Kenshiro followed the novices into the meditation hall. A thin cushion, a stone floor, a single candle burning low, flame steady as a held breath. Sit was the only instruction. No stance, no guidance, no time limit given. So he sat. At first, his body fought. The legs trembled, the spine ached, the ribs grew heavy. His mind searched for distraction the way a drowning man searches for air. He remembered battlefields, the smell of blood on steel, his father's fading voice, the arguments that shattered his clan. Silence did not soothe. Silence accused. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network, the brain replaying unhealed wounds when external noise dies. Samurai called it meeting the ghost in the mirror. Kenshiro's ghost had his father's eyes. His breath grew uneven. The flickering candle seemed to pulse with his heartbeat, faster, then slower, then still. Memories sharpened like blades. The night his clan argued over succession, the slammed doors, the words that cut deeper than sword wounds. He saw himself walking away, calling it duty, but it had been escape. A drop of sweat slid down his spine. The room was cold, yet he felt heat rising, anger, fear, guilt braiding into something dense and choking. His chest tightened. Every instinct begged him to move, to stand, to run, but movement was forbidden. And so he stayed. Silence did not break him. It peeled him, layer by layer, until what was left was not Kenshiro the warrior, but Kenshiro the wounded son. The candle flickered once, as if whispering, "To become unshakable, first you must shake." Winter crept into the monastery like a quiet predator. Frost veined the walls. The river froze into a sheet of dull glass. Kenshiro woke one morning to find his breath rising in clouds, though the sun had already climbed. The novices distributed winter robes, thick, warm, lined with wool. But none was given to him. Instead, a thin cloth garment, threadbare, barely enough for autumn, much less snow. He said nothing, but his pride roared. A warrior should not be treated like the least among them. Then came the moment that cut deeper. Master Sogen motioned toward Kenshiro's sword, the blade that had defined him since childhood, inherited through bloodline and honor. Sogen pointed to a wooden box used to store old shoes. "Leave it," a novice whispered. "Not trade it, not clean it, not honor it. Leave it, identity, or transformation." Kenshiro's hand trembled. He placed the sword in the shoebox, the way a son lays a father to rest. Ash drifted from last night's brazier, the monastery's burned ledger, settling on the hilt like winter dust. He noticed the same red thread he'd seen before, looped once through the guard, cut short as if a promise had been severed mid-knot. Sogen closed the lid. No ceremony, no chant. Only the click of wood, a locked drawer in the soul. In the hall, a hairline crack split the crossbeam above the altar, a cracked cross of grain and time. Even timber yields when it clings to its shape too long. Strangely, his body warmed. When attachment loosens, the nervous system releases its grip. Dopamine quiets, the prefrontal cortex returns, and breath becomes a bridge. He bowed, smaller in the eyes of the world, larger to himself. That night the wind rose, and the mountain tested what he had just let go. By dawn, the storm would arrive, and with it, the measure of an unbreakable center. The storm did not announce itself. It descended. Winds tore across the mountain like a beast starved through winter. Roof tiles rattled, doors shook. The monastery, usually silent as breath itself, groaned under the weight of the sky's fury. Novices scrambled to brace beams, to shutter windows, to keep the lantern flames alive. Snow slashed sideways, white knives in the dark. Kenshiro's heart pounded, his body reacting before thought could shape meaning. The instinct to fight or flee, primal and ancient, surged like wildfire through his blood. But Sogen did not move. He sat at the center of the hall, legs folded, eyes half lowered, as the storm howled like a dying god. Wind roared, wood cracked. Yet the old monk remained still, not resisting, not tensing, only existing. A mountain inside the body of a man. Kenshiro felt something shift. Kenshiro crawled closer, snow blowing through the broken shutters, the hall flickering with cold firelight. "Sogen-sensei, the beams will break," he shouted. But Sogen only breathed, slow, even, anchored from a place deeper than muscle or thought. And Kenshiro saw it. The storm was not something Sogen resisted. He did not push against it. He did not brace to endure it. He let it pass through him, like the mountain accepts wind, like the ocean accepts storms. like the heart must accept pain before it can release it. In that moment, Kenshiro understood. Strength is not found in armor or defiance, but in a spirit so rooted it cannot be moved. Sogen opened his eyes, calm, unshaken, and finally spoke. When you stop trying to survive the storm, you become the sky it moves within. Kenshiro felt the floor pulse, something inside him breaking or waking. But even awakening tests the soul, and the world would soon call him back. When spring finally loosened winter's grip, the mountain released its hold on Kenshiro. The river thawed. The snow withdrew into quiet shadows, and Kenshiro descended the stone path he had once climbed with fire in his chest and pride in his stride. But now, his steps did not announce him. There was no urgency, no hunger to be seen, only presence. Villagers along the valley road paused when he passed, not because they recognized the warrior, but because something in him was still, something rare, something unspoken. He returned home to a clan still fractured, still whispering of power, succession, betrayal. The same conflicts waited, but he was no longer the same. He spoke little, acted slowly, observed before responding. His father, frail and fading, looked into his eyes and saw not a boy, not a soldier, but a man who had walked through his own death and returned whole. Kenshiro knelt. That night, the elders circled a low table like wolves around an old fire. Old accusations surfaced, burned edges of a ledger no one dared to read aloud. Kenshiro listened, not to win, to hear what hurt. When tempers flared, he raised a hand, not a sword, and the room obeyed the quiet it felt in him. He walked to the family altar. A drawer there had always been locked. From his sleeve he drew a small key his father had given him without words, the same red thread tied to it, cut short years ago. The key turned. The drawer opened. Inside, a letter sealed in wax, a name written in a hand he knew and did not know. A map edge singed, as if someone tried to erase a path. A wooden charm with a hairline crack, a cross in the grain, like the beam he'd studied on the mountain. Kenshiro closed his eyes and chose truth over legacy. He broke the seal, and the house fell silent, because some revelations steady the spirit while unsteadying everything built upon it.